Hey everybody, it's Carm here, back on an early Tuesday morning, up with the chickens, as I have been as of recently. Wanted to come on and do a response video to Rachel, the Music Ma'am, Rachel the Music Ma'am VC, is having a contest. She's calling it, You Say It's Your Birthday? Not going to sing that. And yeah, I thought I'd like to jump in with this. I'm sure many of you know her by now. A wonderful person up there in Western Canada. We met maybe within the last month and a half, couple months. She's been around for like maybe half a year or maybe a year or longer. I'm not quite sure. But just a wonderful person, very thoughtful, very supportive of so many people in the VC. Incredible storyteller, which I love listening to storytellers. A great knowledge of music, you know, seen so many people over the years, experienced so much. Also a musician herself, I believe, you know, guitar player. And yeah, just fantastic. And I wanted to jump in with this because this, you know, just support her, vibe with her, and the rest of you. And I like these topics here. So yeah, I'll start right in with these. So she has four questions or subjects here. So with the title, You Say It's Your Birthday, the first one is select a musician or somebody in the music business or industry. It could be a producer, engineer, someone connected, even if they're not directly a musician, who was born on the same calendar day as you. I was born on November 20th, 1975, and looking it up, there's quite a few folks in music born on that date. I think Joe Walsh is someone notable, well known from was born on that date. And I have a couple actually in my collection who were longtime favorites, born on November 20th. So Kit Watkins, born November 20th, 1953. And I did a whole video on him about a month ago or so. An all-time favorite, you know, multi-instrumentalist. You know, played in a lot of different contexts. So yeah, he's a old favorite, and yeah, I went into you know, a great deal on that video. And another one is Meredith Monk, as mentioned before. So November 20th of 1942. A true Renaissance woman, composer, pianist, you know, several instruments, vocalist, incredible vocals, choreographer, filmmaker, you know, going back over 50 years, and still around now. I had learned of her through this video here. Fried Shoes, Cooked Diamonds, The Beats at Naropa. Late 70s, the Naropa Institute in Boulder, Colorado. Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics was the kind of subheading of it. They would teach classes, give readings, and there'd be musical performances. See the various people in the film, including Meredith Monk. There's a short section there, maybe not even 2 minutes, where she was singing and playing piano. I'd rented this originally from a Blockbuster Video right around 1995, and right away, you know, I was really captivated by her performance. So once I went to, you know, the local shops, I started seeking out her music, and right away was very, you know, very taken by it. Very original, idiosyncratic. Nobody like her at all, and yeah, just yeah, it's another example of someone born on the same birth date. Fitting enough with the title of this, Impermanence, that it would lead from this question into the next question here, which of course is the flip side of the coin of the first one. So for the next one, she wanted us to select a musician in someone in the business who died on the same calendar day as you, November 20th. Only could find one that I had. Anton Rubinstein, a Russian pianist and composer of the 19th century. Yeah, he was born on November 28th, 1829, and died November 20th of 1894. And it's performed by Joseph Banowitz. If you like Chopin, that kind of piano, kind of romantic era piano, yeah, very similar in style to that, with some twists and turns. Interesting in the cover here. Either kind of the finger, the gesture of admonishment, or possibly something more nefarious. But yeah, so Anton Rubinstein for the second one. And yeah, for the third one here, I want us to show an album or an artist in general that your mom liked, and also do the same for your dad. Well, I grew up in a household with a lot of music, thankfully, always music playing. I was born in the 70s. I like to say I'm born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s and a little bit of the 90s, but I always felt like I was kind of a grandchild of the 60s, being that my folks were 60s children. Born in the late 40s. There were always friends by the house, a lot of musician friends. Say it's kind of like an extended family of uncles, including Neil, who I've mentioned before in the previous videos. So there were always people by the house. They'd have jam sessions on Sundays. I remember like around, well, I'm sure throughout the 70s, but even into the early 80s, I remember them coming over on Sunday nights. Always a great time. And yeah, it was communal. I felt in the best sense. And I feel like I was raised with the best of those values and ideals, which hopefully still practice even now. But music was always at the center of that, and they liked a lot of the same groups throughout the years. My dad was a hairdresser during that time, 70s and 80s, had his own shop called Panico Hair Trends. For those of you in the Chicagoland area, you may remember that place, maybe the whole atmosphere of it. It's a very cool environment. You know, there'd be WXRT playing, or the Loop, if you remember those. So yeah, surrounded by music, it was always at the center of it. And a favorite band of my mom's to this day, Bread. Really nice stuff here. I mean, you know, I grew up hearing a lot of this. Just some beautiful stuff. You know, very eclectic group. You know, I'm revisiting it myself. You know, going through all different styles of rock and folk and everything else. I think I have a CD of theirs too. Yeah. Yeah, the song. Is it Baby I'ma Want You? That one's a well-known one. Very beautiful stuff. So yeah, this is a favorite of hers that, you know, was playing all the time, and as I say, even well into the 80s, it may as well have been the 60s or early 70s, because I heard this stuff all along in the household. So it's very much a favorite of hers, and again, my folks had a lot of mutual favorites, you know, all through the years. It was a favorite of my dad's, you know, among many others. Cream, Live Cream, a group I came to appreciate too, you know, myself later on. Of course, you know, great trio here, and they got to see everyone, you know, anyone who came through Chicagoland during that time, late 60s and, you know, through the 70s. You know, here's a group that they both loved equally, and of course I grew up with, Chicago. Appropriately enough, of course, you know them. You know, great mixture of styles. You know, horns. You know, very horn-led. But you had jazz, rock, and soul, and just you know, some experimentation. And I got my own of theirs. Early one, Chicago Transit Authority. Fantastic stuff. You know, I'm sure many of you know this. You know, lots of hits, but a lot of you know, what's known as deeper cuts. But yeah, just fantastic stuff. So yeah, I heard this all through childhood, and you know, quite extensively. So yeah, it was always around. And I wanted to share a couple of groups too that so turned me on to, and you know, eventually embraced further. course, mentioning Genesis. Now, this was more. Neil got me more into the group, especially early, the early group. But of course, my folks fostered that further and got me this, the tape set for Christmas of 1990. So I got deeper into them through them, and they've spoken of. My folks got to see them on this tour for this album, which on the American leg of it, it started in Chicago and ended in Chicago. I think 2 different venues. To this day, they say it's still the greatest live experience of any kind they've ever had, and just indescribable what it meant to them. So yeah, it's one example. Now another group here. Oh, I'll show this real quick too. If anyone knows this area, I grew up hearing a lot of this group. I meant to show this one before. Survivor. If you know Jim Peterick, Eye of the Tiger from the Rocky III soundtrack. He and my mom knew each other as little kids, growing up across the street from each other. Town of Berwyn, which family is from and his band's from. So, yeah, I'm going to show that real quick. A little part of the history of, again, the music I heard, and kind of part of the sort of the heritage of the area. So, yeah, Survivor. Now another group here that I got directly through my folks and was very taken with right away. Now, this is another example of, I'm sure a lot of you have experienced it in the VC amongst each other in different ways. Some call it coincidence. I always call it serendipity. And my good pal Gary, who I'm sure is watching, we've experienced it a lot over the years, knowing each other through here. But here's another example of it. Example of that Shannon and I have experienced. I was pulling out this stuff, getting it together on Saturday, and the very next day she does a video on this group, Jethro Tull, speaking about how she's discovering them further for herself and going deeper and very much enjoying it. Well, early on in high school, we had gotten a new system in the house, kind of a 3-in-1 system, CD, double cassette, and turntable. And my dad had sent me up to the attic and said, bring down some stuff, and made some suggestions. And he said, a group I think you'll really like. Even though I was moving away from rock and into a lot of other areas, which, continue to this day, it's like, find some Jethro Tull if you see it up there. It's like, I think you'd really be into them. And he was right. Everything about this group, they had this certain kind of, it was kind of a rough-hewn quality, very raw, but also kind of lofty and not spacey, but kind of, delightfully out there. Just an incredible blend and balance of different styles and approaches, and so distinctive. Of course, Ian Anderson, the earliest one here, this was. And of course, prompted further by Shannon's video. I'm revisiting them like crazy now. Yeah, Benefit here. It's among my favorites. Oh, I thought I brought out the other one. Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah. Stand Up. Played these a lot from my dad's collection, the vinyl, back in the summer of '92 and '93. Last couple summers of high school. Yeah, played these an awful lot alongside everything else I was getting into. And I always kind of went back and forth as to what was my favorite, because I always felt they were kind of very much companion pieces. Right now I'm leaning a little more towards Stand Up, even after all these years, going back and forth. And of course loved, especially if you know the original copy on vinyl, the booklet, incredible booklet of this, Living in the Past. I remember long summer nights poring over that book, just staring at the pictures and flipping the record endlessly. Saying how I originally preferred the live stuff on here. The middle part of the album is live, but I've come to really, hearing it as a whole again after a while is enjoying everything. So, yeah, I have Shannon to thank further for reminding me and getting me to revisit them. And again, my folks getting me into them very early on, and just found a very deep connection with them. So and now this next thing I'm going to show here, I try to be very careful with. And yeah, I have to get all these records, later on return these to my folks. The CDs are mine, but the rest is theirs. Yeah, back in 2003, I was working at a place called Navy Pier in the entertainment department, working at the little theater, outdoor theater there, and Jethro Tull was playing. And my mom came, my brother, and his then girlfriend, and you got to see the show. And she gave me an album of hers and said, "Do you think you could have this signed, possibly?" I said, "I'll try. I'll see what I could do." I was able to get Martin Barre to sign it personally, the guitarist, and thankfully I was able to, through the stage manager, was able to get the band to sign it. Yep, it's my folks' copy. I think, yeah, everyone's there. I think at the time, Ian Anderson and Martin Barre, I think they were the only original members at that point in 2003, from what I remember. Yeah, very fun show, and yeah, I know I was telling Jen and I were talking about it. I know I've told a couple of you. I have a lot of personal contact with about this, but yeah, just a very cool time and moment there. Another quick story I wanted to share. My folks, again, they went and seen everyone who came through town, through those years. Right around the time, up until the time I was born, I had to just come along, and they didn't go to shows as much after that. But in, I believe it was early 1969, they had been married about a year at that point, and they went to a place called the Electric Theater, or / Kinetic Playground, and they went to see Vanilla Fudge. They were the headlining act, and there were two opening acts. And the first one, was Jethro Tull, who, and this was, I believe, the first time in the States, possibly. And they had no idea what they were going to get. They probably figured it was just one person, as probably a lot of people do. Had no idea what to expect, and yeah, it was just completely different. And by the way, the second band to come out was some obscure English band, Led Zeppelin. I don't know if anyone. So yeah, they were pretty mind blown, to say the least. Being so young, I think they were about the same age as the band at the time. Those two bands. So yeah, it was a real heavy experience, to say the least. And I don't even think they stayed for the whole. When Vanilla Fudge came out, maybe they stayed for a few songs, and that was it. The sensory overload must have been intense in the best way. But yeah, so yeah, that's just a little example of the stuff my folks were into, and again, very much fostered it in me, and continues to this day. And I still go back to this music, and here and there, and again, revisiting it further. So yeah, thanks to my folks, and even now we're turning each other onto things. It's just kind of the circle's always being continued. So yeah. And the fourth one here is to mention, Rachel wanted us to mention another VC channel. Yeah, there's so many, of course. Rachel's always mentioning people. I'm always learning about new people through her, and it's a challenge to keep up, but it's great. You're always just finding new people, kindred spirits overall. I wanted to mention someone who I don't think I've mentioned before, who's actually been in the VC for quite a while, longer than myself, and he's from New Mexico. His name is Dave, and he goes under the username El Bicho Feo. Some of you are probably familiar with him. I don't think nearly enough are, in my opinion. A really neat guy. Right away you feel like you're in the room with him, just hanging out, having some laughs. He's very, very engaging, I guess you could say. Yeah, his knowledge of music, running from all kinds of jazz, progressive, see some classical from time to time. He's done this series for quite a while now called Cheap Heat, showing you, you could find some really interesting records, some more well-known than others, for just really cheap, right in the bins, kind of right under our nose. And he's a great resource for that, just introducing us to new things. And yeah, just an incredible knowledge and way of explaining things, very, very direct, and yeah, you're just taken in with everything he's showing. So would very much recommend checking out his channel. In fact, being Rachel's in Canada, I think his most recent video, which is in the last couple of weeks, because he's on kind of sporadically, but he's been on a little more recently, is actually featuring some lesser known Canadian artists. So yeah, well worth checking out. So yeah, that would be my particular recommendation. Someone I want to mention is Dave El Bicho Feo. Yeah, please check him out. So yeah, I just wanted to come on and respond to this. Yeah, it was fun getting all this together, and Rachel made me think of, brought back a lot of memories, and yeah, so yeah, again, I'm sure many of you are familiar with Rachel, and if not, please go pay her a visit. It'll be well worth it. And yeah, she seems like becoming a real true friend, a very very loyal friend, someone who I think would always be there for you when you get to know her. So and thank you for the inspiration, Rachel. So yeah, again, please check her out, and yeah, hope all is well everyone's way, and until the next one, peace, love, and joy.